Hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I'll be giving you all my commentary on some of the best matches from the Balance of Power tournament so far. This tournament actually uses a custom balance patch made by Carlos, Ferdinand, and John Mendl. Before the match begins, I will show some of the relevant changes on the screen, so let me go quickly toggle those on for you. Of course, major credit to Homicidal Bear, one of my longtime loyal viewers, for making these infographics for me. Really appreciate it, man. So their balance patch was designed to make every unit, civilization, and strategy a more viable choice in expert games. Today, my focus will be on showcasing matches from the round of 16 and seeing how the new balance changes have affected the metagame. As usual, you can find all of the information that you need in the video description below, such as links to watch the other matches, more information on the tournament, and a link to the balance patch itself. And I have not tried the spectator overlay yet, Jeanette, but thank you so much, of course. Appreciate you stopping by. It's something that is definitely on the to-do list, but I want to make sure that I figure out how to actually use it before I use it myself. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into Game 1 from the round of 16, which will be a 1v1 on the map Dry Arabia between the two players, Vinchester and TheViper. At the top left corner of the map, we have TheViper playing as the Yellow Britons. And on the far right-hand side of the map, we have Vinchester playing as the Purple Saracens. And before anyone asks, no, live commentaries aren't replacing the usual Aoe2 community stream, so don't worry. This is just extra content. I'm doing Aoe2 on Sunday as my thanks to you guys for all the continued support. It's really appreciated. You've all been wonderful. So we get to do a little bit of that extra Aoe2 action today, and I am extremely excited to be here because it's time to see a whole new metagame, guys. The balance patch by Carlos, Ferdinand, and John Mendl looks super duper promising. It has so many sweeping changes in it. You can find, obviously, the full changelog in the video description, and if anyone wants to post it in the Twitch chat, you're more than welcome to do that. This will really shake up the metagame. And what I'm really looking forward to is seeing how these changes actually affect the game as a whole. Now, does my shift... I had to restart this like a couple of times because of random tech issues, but hopefully we're good to go. Apparently my OBS hotkeys don't work when I'm doing this right now, so that's interesting. We're gonna roll with it. Onto the game itself. I'm excited because these changes are really sweeping, and they should really shake up the metagame. This balance patch is very interesting because it has a very different approach than Zero Empires and I have been taking with the balance tweaker. As you guys are probably aware, around a month ago, it's actually a little over a month ago, Zero Empires approached me on Skype and he asked me if I would be willing to help him on his idea he calls the balance tweaker. He wanted to create a balance patch that would shake up the competitive scene for Age of Empires 2, because obviously after all these years, it is, inevitable that the competitive scene has gotten a little bit stale. We see mostly the same civilizations and strategies used over and over again, and it's about time that we see something fresh, interesting, and new. There's a very big power discrepancy between the top-level civs and some strategies, and there's just so much potential here that we think to have a more balanced, diverse, and interesting Age of Empires 2. And yes, the deja vu is real, man. I think that, yeah, sorry if you can hear me coughing every now and then. Normally I mute the microphone, but I have to remember that I have to Alt-Tab for that now because I'm watching this on Voobly. So pardon me, I'm getting used to that. We're gonna roll with it. Jesus. So either way, let's get in this boar. It's gonna be awesome. The thing with the balance patch that Carlos Ferdinand and John Mendl have done for this tournament, rather than the balance tweaker that I'm working with Zero Empires on, is that they went all out. They went for the full approach. They weren't messing around here. Their changes are sweeping and affect all the almost every civilization, unit, technologies. Infantry as a whole, for example, are so much stronger than they were before. We can expect cavalry archers to maybe see some play. Drush will be a lot stronger with the walls just being more expensive and slower to build in general. There's just huge sweeping changes that should really give us a whole new game that we've never seen. Whereas the balance tweaker has a very different approach, is that the idea here is that Zero Empires has the idea that a smaller patch is better because it's a lot easier for the pro scene to adopt and adapt to, because obviously changes can be very tricky for people to get the hang of, and the balance tweaker is a lot easier to learn. It has like a much smaller set of changes in it, but that are like higher impact. But John Mendl and Carlos Ferdinand, they went all out here, so the changes are a lot more comprehensive, and as a result, we can expect to see a lot different things than we're used to. And I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit more about how these balance changes have actually affected the game. It's going to be a great learning experience here. I think that by looking at the changes, obviously, like, the militia line's been nerfed, so when I say that drushing is stronger, I think that's an interesting point to elaborate on. The militia line's been nerfed, like well, not the militia line, the militia unit itself. The Drush strategy, of course, which we're seeing in action right now here, barracks coming up from actually both players here. So Vinchester, with the first barracks, is going to mine 10 gold. Why? Because he already has the gold for 3 militia. He's going for a standard 3 militia Drush. It's pretty straightforward, right? The Drush is really good because once you get those 3 militia out, you just send them into your opponent's economy, and as the villagers fight the militia, they're not gathering any resources. You don't even have to kill a villager. Just getting them to fight you back is devastating on your opponent's economy, and every player in this game getting housed just non-stop. Getting housed non-stop here. Yeah, you do, like, tremendous damage to the opponent's economy even without killing a villager just by making them idle. So the Drush has always been a strong strategy, but it might be even stronger in the balance patch. But to compensate for this, they reduced the militia pierce armor by 1, which makes them take a lot more damage from town center shots and archers. Now, the curious thing is, why is drushing so much stronger? Well, drushing is stronger because the walls, palisade walls and stone walls both cost substantially more to build, and stone walls actually build slower. And the best way to deal with the drush, of course, is with quick walling. What you want to do is you want to use your buildings like so, organize them in a way that creates sort of a makeshift wall off, and use palisade walls to fill in the gaps. And then that way you can restrict the mobility of the militia so that they can't get into your woodline exterior villagers, and that basically just stops the drush in its tracks. However, that's a lot harder to do, of course, now that palisade walls are substantially more expensive. It's a huge investment on wood. It's a very huge investment on wood. So, the Drush will be a lot stronger as a result. Now, I don't think Vinchester is doing this on purpose, although this is interesting, is that he's actually captured 2 wolves. He's tamed a small raiding force of wolves that he's bringing with his militia, and maybe he did do this on purpose, considering that he's bringing this militia separately. Bringing these wolves into the Viper's economy is actually going to be quite powerful. It basically increases the number of militia that he has essentially up to 4, as these wolves will aggro onto the villagers for some idle time. They'll help fight the militia as well. It's really funny. I wonder if he actually intended to do this. I wonder if he intended to bring in the wolves. Snookerball says, in your expert opinion, do you think that we will see men-at-arms from Viper in this game? Absolutely, Snookerballs. Yeah, not only do I have the expert analysis, man, but I also have ESP. I get the feeling I've already seen the first 15 minutes of this game, but yeah, I bet I can perfectly predict everything that happens in the next 15 minutes. We'll find out. The really cool thing here, though, that we already see that we would never really see in standard Age of Empires 2. This is the first major moment in the balance patch that really differentiates it from standard Aoe2. There are 4 militia here from the Viper, and he's not Aztecs. He's not. Like, even the Aztecs, it's normal to go more than 3 militia here, but 3 militia is like the golden number where with your scout you can do a lot of damage to someone's economy and you don't have to invest too much food in it, because then you're like really going to slow down your advancement times. I mean, we see that Vinchester is still in the Dark Age because he went for this Drush, and the Viper's Drush was delayed, but he's using it defensively. He didn't actually move out with it, and he made a 4th militia and got men-at-arms, which is nuts. Men-at-arms are actually, believe it or not, a somewhat viable unit in standard Age of Empires 2, but they're very uncommon. However, since the Drush as a whole is stronger in the balance patch, I expect to see a lot more men-at-arms than normal. The Drush is stronger as a whole, so you're likely to have more militia left over, and if you do, men-at-arms is such a better upgrade. And since walling is worse, men-at-arms are better too, because the main weakness of those melee units, of course, is they can't get through those darn walls, and scouts are fast enough that they can get to your opponent before the walls come up. Archers can shoot over them, but men-at-arms, they can't do anything there. Flash, thank you for your donation. He says, hi, Rez. Because of changes at the university, I can't actually chat on Twitch when I'm at the university anymore. But he says, thank you, but he's still watching, and thanks for yesterday. Well, it's my pleasure, man. Great to have you, as always. So, into the game itself. Of course, feel free to ask me any relevant questions to the game at hand in the Twitch chat. I'd like to answer them if I can. Why do wolves give you any food? I think that... I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't really think that that would be a good change for the game, I guess. wolves are supposed to be detrimental and prevent you from rushing. I don't know if we want to incentivize people from, like, hunting wolves, you know, bringing them back into their own base and using them as a something to benefit them. The Viper is going to lose a lot of villagers, of course, from this Drush, from Vinch, but he's actually going to move out with these men-at-arms, and the men-at-arms here are also a little bit faster. Every non-militia unit in the militia line, so men-at-arms and above, do have a small movement speed boost, which means that they don't get kited as hard by the archers. It's a huge difference. He's going to get a villager here, force a lot of villagers off the line, so Vinchester going to have a lot of idle time in these villagers. Devastating on its economy. He loses one villager. A bunch of these villagers have to go fight back against the men-at-arms. These archers should be able to clean it up. There's still a really good counter against the men-at-arms, but these men-at-arms are still going to be very, very effective here at damaging the economy of Vinchester and slowing him down. At the same time, though, Vinchester is getting his revenge. He has had so many casualties with his own militia and scout cavalry. The Viper still hasn't answered it yet, but it looks like he's going to start transitioning into archers after opening up with 4 men-at-arms. And again, you would never really see a defensive Drush into, like, an extra men-at-arms in standard Aoe2, like, on rare occasions, but in this balance patch, it's more of a thing. Like, everything, all the civilizations, units, and strategies are just a little bit closer to each other in power, and that gives a lot of interesting choice to all of the top-level players. It adds a lot more skill to the game because they have a lot more decisions to make. It's no longer about, like, do I scout rush, do I drush? You know, now men-at-arms are thrown into the mix. How many men-at-arms should you make? That is the real question, because the Viper, since he got men-at-arms, he made an extra militia, he's gonna get to the Castle Age slower than his opponent. If we look at his resource count, the Viper is really poor. And Vinch just got to the Castle Age because Vinchester only made those 3 militia, and then he didn't get the men-at-arms upgrade, he didn't make another one, and that means that he got to stockpile extra food so that he could get to the Castle Age first. The Drush Fast Castle is already a very strong strategy, as the Drush does, of course. Keep your opponent occupied, try to contain them in their base while you greedily go up to the Castle Age. You're always vulnerable in that time frame while you're advancing to the Castle Age, like up to like 17 minutes where, you know, getting rushed, you won't have really any defense because you've spent so much money on advancing through the ages. But the Drush allows you to create that necessary space to be able to get to the Castle Age safely. Is the Viper God? Absolutely. Hello, Rectal Nectar. Welcome to the stream. These crossmen are going to do so much damage here. I mean, we always see the fast Castle Age into crossmen strategy. Very, very standard, but crossmen are, of course, more expensive in the balance patch. They're a little bit less prominent here. This is absolutely fascinating, as the Viper is in deep, deep trouble here. Since the crossman upgrade is actually more expensive, Vinchester will not have enough money to get the Bodkin arrow, so this timing attack is a lot weaker, but he's still able to just pick off these archers. Crossmen are a huge power spike because they have the extra range and the extra attack, and getting the first shot in the archers kind of guarantees the win. He's going to get out of here and dodge most of these arrows. He actually does keep this crossman alive at 2 HP, and in the meantime, the Viper is back into his own economy. Vinch is gonna lose a couple of villagers here. He'll probably spawn a few crossmen in the back. He's not actually gonna fight this army with his villagers because the Viper has fletching, so the villagers aren't gonna be as effective here. And look at all this idle time. The Viper has to pull 4 villagers off the line to go kill this one crossman, and this entire wood line into the town center. Vinchester looking really strong, but a couple skirmishers here are gonna be the counter to the archers, and they're gonna force Vinchester back. Alright, so the Viper here committing to a couple of skirmishers, and again, this is going to be a big old food investment. It's going to slow down his Castle Age substantially, and the Viper has almost no stockpiled resources, and transitioning to archers is a very common thing to do, you know, no matter what you open up with in the Feudal Age, because, you know, you're going to want to start stockpiling food to get to the Castle Age, hopefully, right? That's the idea. You need 800 food, you need 200 gold, and archers don't cost food, which allows you to stockpile that extra food and get to the Castle Age, because getting that 200 gold is a lot easier than stockpiling 800 food. Skirmisher is, while a great counter to archers, and archers you're just kind of naturally forced into if you are in the Feudal Age because they don't cost food again. Skirmishers, while they are a counter, they do cost food, so they will slow down your Feudal Age, and there's so many interesting decisions like this that are really amplified in the balance patch that are really going to force the Viper to, you know, think quickly. This is a huge risk for him. Investing this hard in skirmishers to defend against the crossbowmen is going to delay his Castle Age substantially. He's nowhere near it. His eco's taken so much damage. But Vinchester is completely outnumbered here. He's going to take a couple of shots from this watchtower. He's going to try and back off, and the Viper is going to try and flank this army. The range advantage is in favor of Vinchester here, but the Viper is trying to cut him off, trying to flank him. Can he do it? Well, Vinchester is on a hill, so he has the elevation advantage here, which means he'll deal more damage and take less. Tough Man says, Resistance 22, doesn't the patch make the mines crappy since Eagle Warriors are nerfed or archers are more expensive? I don't think so. I think the Mayans' economy is strong enough as is, even though it's been nerfed a little bit. And they did actually buff Castle Age Eagle Warriors. They do have a higher attack bonus versus cavalry units, which makes them slightly less worse against knights. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's really, really difficult to know just by looking at the changes on paper what kind of effects they'll have on the metagame. I'm sure the Mayans are still viable, but really I think every civ is a little bit closer to each other in power than they were before. Alright, well, looks like the Viper does manage to successfully defend this, and he is slowly stockpiling a little bit of food. But in the meantime, Vinchester is moving out yet again. Even though Vinchester's in the Castle Age, he's committing super hard to this crossman. He just got his second town center up 23 minutes in, despite being up to the Castle Age for a long time. And what this means is that Vinchester is actually slightly behind in population. He's actually behind, and he's really, really behind militarily. If we take a look at the military and population, well, actually, no, it's actually just about equal here, which is very, very fascinating considering that he got to the Castle Age first. He could have put down a TC, but he decided to go really heavy into the crossbowmen, and part of this is because the crossbowmen upgrade costs more, so it's a lot worse on your economy. You can't boom as easily off it. Another one gets housed! Oh man, every 5 seconds in this game, a player gets housed. Oh god. Well, either way, even though Vinchester does have an equivalent army size, he is outnumbered in the Viper's base. At least the mines are better than the Indians. Indeed, Street Legend. However, there's no Indians in this. This is just, you know, the standard Age of Empires 2 selections of civs, no forgotten civs in here. So it looks like the Viper is going to be bringing his archers and skirmishers over here to try and go cut off these crossmen. In this time frame, though, Vinchester does have a second TC in his own base, so he's going to start pulling ahead in the population department, which will be devastating for him. He can't reinforce very easily with those crossbowmen, actually, because he has to go walk on the other side of these houses, and these houses here do, again, form a makeshift wall-off. But houses in this balance patch also do have less health, so they're not as effective as a wall-off thing than normal. We already see so many different things that we wouldn't normally see in standard Aoe2. I don't think you would really see, like, a house wall-off this long outside of this balance patch on most occasions. And normally you would see some palisades here, maybe a double palisade. But the Viper here is just like, palisade walls are too expensive, man. I'm putting all these houses here even though they have less HP. Just because they cost 5 less wood in this one. So that is very, very fascinating. These houses won't last quite as long. With the bodkin arrow for Vinchester, of course, you will be able to shoot on the other side of this forest and go poke at those villagers. I have seen the Spectator dashboard, CJ. It looks really, really cool. I might try that out at some point. We shall see. It's something that I want to learn before I use it, but it does look really, really cool. Yeah, there have been a lot of idols in this game indeed, yeah. Alright, so more pressure being put on the Viper, but if we swap back to his perspective, he is finally on his way up to the Castle Age. So it might have seemed like he was on the back foot the entire game and in deep, deep trouble, but he has been doing a couple of things to keep him in the game. Most importantly, he has padded archer armor, which does help him balance out his upgrades a little bit with his opponent. He also does have a bunch of skirmishers. Notice how the Viper is making a very good play here. He's keeping his skirmishers back in his base to go deal with the offensive forward crossbowmen, but he's sending out his own archers forward here. Why? Because by the time his archers get to Vinchester's base, he's going to get the crossbowman upgrade. He's going to time it almost perfectly here. Get the crossbowman upgrade. Because the crossbowmen there, they have way more offensive presence, they do way more damage than the skirmishers with a, measly 2 attack. These skirms are for defense. He keeps the skirms back, moves the crossbowmen forward, and this is huge. He is going to send these skirmishers over here to try and go pick off those crossbowmen. Vinchester's going to take a couple of free shots here, but Vinchester does have the elevation advantage and the upgrade advantage. This is going to be a really close fight anyway. We see a little bit of micro battle, players walking perpendicular to those arrow shots to try and dodge them. This is super duper close. I think the Viper barely loses this battle due to the hill discrepancy, but his guys are coming out here, and of course, crossbowman is 70%, 80%, right into the economy. As he fires the first few shots, they become the crossbowmen, and this economy from Vinchester is in deep, deep trouble. The Viper needed to go offensively with those to balance out the massive economy discrepancy that's going on right now. Remember, guys, that Vinchester got to the Castle Age first. He has more population by a small margin. He has about a 7 to 8 villager lead, but it's shrinking because the villagers are dying. There's a lot of idle time on them. Look at them, just being swept onto the left-hand side of the map. So many idols. Economies are weeping, my friends. So many idle villagers on this side. The Viper evening out. Look, now we're down to a 3 villager difference between Vinchester and the Viper. He went offensively there to even out that economy discrepancy, and now suddenly, even though they were behind, they're back to even. Did Warwagons get deleted because they're too OP? No, they didn't. Alright, so, University coming out from the Viper here. He's really prioritizing this ballistics upgrade, and ballistics, of course, is the upgrade for the University. Kind of expensive. He's stockpiled enough resources for it. He's really close to be able to afford this. The ballistics upgrade means that your archers and just like projectiles in general don't miss against moving targets. Because you know you can juke them by walking perpendicular to the shots. Well, you can't do that with ballistics, so in this case it's going to make a huge, huge difference as these are micro battles here, right? And Vinch just losing so many crossbows for free. He's trying to engage with a tiny army of them, but look at that sick micro. Walking perpendicular, 2 mangonels closing in. The Viper's running out of time. He must pull back, as the crossmen here are going to go and flank him. Viper did an absolutely amazing job of defending this, and Vinchester, of course, has been doing a great job applying the necessary pressure. Ballistics research for the Viper completed, and now Vinchester will not be able to micro at all against these, basically. So that's going to be really, really bad for Vinchester. We'll see how he comes out of the situation. It looks like this mangonel here is going to threaten these crossmen. Mangonel, a great, great counter to these clumped up groups of crossbowmen. He has to be really careful to stay out of range there and flank when he can. Oh, he's got to really keep his distance, but the ballistics upgrade paying dividends here. Absolutely paying dividends. As he is going to go back out here after doing so much damage to Vinchester's guys. Ooh! Ooh, wow, that split just barely perfectly timed here. The Viper does end up getting nicked a little bit with that mangonel shot. A couple of his crossmen do take a little bit of damage, but he doesn't get hit directly, so they do live. He has to be careful to juke this one. Oh, he does not get the split in time. Is going to lose a bunch of crossmen. The mangonels, the kings of value here when you're behind militarily. That's the way to go, and Vinch is behind substantially militarily. He's going to repair this mangonel, though, because he can't afford to lose it. The time that it takes to create another one, he doesn't have time to build one. He's going to take so much damage in that time frame from those crossmen, so he has to go repair this one and trade as efficiently as humanly possible. The Viper here with great micro is managing to handle both of these situations at the same time with minimal losses, and Vinchester does end up surviving. He does defend this attack with those mangonels, and now the Viper is going to try and boom up. He's still behind by a couple of villagers, but he has a substantial military lead, so the game right now absolutely neck and neck with huge armies of crossbowmen. We'll see who comes out on top. Alright, so this is a very, very big army here. Looks like the Viper is going to put down a siege workshop, and he's building this a little bit further forward because he's the person applying the offensive pressure here. Siege workshop's very slow, of course, so the units from the siege workshop very, very slow, so you usually want to build them closer if you're going offensively, but the downside of this is you won't be able to have mangonels to defend your own army. But this is okay because he has the army advantage. He doesn't need to make this mangonels as much as Vinch does. He pulls out at literally just the last second here as Vinchester threatening to fire that mangonel shot. Gonna need to use the attack ground here, of course, to avoid those situations where your opponent splits and avoids all the damage. Vinchester is pulling ahead, though. He does have an 11 villager lead now. It's steadily going up, and that's because the dude has town centers. He has 3 extra town centers for a grand total of 4, and I believe the Viper only has a second TC? Yes, the Viper's on 2 town centers. Vinchester is on 3. And if you want to talk like a brief moment about like the general implications of the balance patch, I would say like the biggest beneficiary, at least at a glance, looks to be the Saracens. The Saracens look really, really good. With their cheaper markets, their cheaper archery ranges, that might be just enough to get them to compete at the top level. And of course the nerfs to all the top tier civs like the Huns, Mayans, Aztecs, Mongols, Vikings, etc. does basically buff everybody else. And the Viper going to move in here, pressure with those crossbowmen. He's going to flank them, go on both sides at the same time, and attract a wolf friend. Well, the Viper into Vinchester's base. Gonna get a couple of villager pickoffs here. Now pay close attention, guys, to the villager count in the bottom right side of the map, as it is gonna inevitably start evening out here. Well, either way, even if it doesn't even out, because he is gonna pull back all of his villagers here, so much idle time. We need like an idle villager counter for Vinchester, as all of his villagers just in town centers everywhere. So many villagers pulled off the line. The Viper doing so much damage here because he has ballistics. You cannot out-micro those. Vinch gonna lose a lot of military units, and look at that military advantage for the Viper. It's getting bigger and bigger, and he's gonna get out before the Mangonel even gets there. This Mangonel, however, is gonna clean up these crossmen, as the Viper is not able to micro all of this at exactly the same time. Is gonna lose a couple of crossmen. Good Mangonel shot here from Vinchester, gonna use the attack ground function, and the Viper is bringing a forward Mangonel in the meantime as well. This army, though, is going to get out mostly unscathed. They did trade a lot of shots. He is going to... Oh, God, that was one of the most devastating Mangonel shots I have seen in a long time. Vinchester, with the shot of the ages, wipes out so many crossbowmen. What a disaster for the Viper. He is going to lose almost all of his army there, and he's going to lose the rest of them, too. Oh, there's so much value from this Mangonel. This Mangonel solo will wipe out the entire army of crossbowmen. The Viper's micro crumbling to Vinchester's attack ground prowess. That's so bad. Look at the military discrepancy. Well, I mean, I say that. The Viper lost 20 crossbowmen, but like, let's be real here. Vinchester lost almost all of his too. Vinchester's down to 4 military units, so... you know, it kind of evens out because the Viper still has a decisive military lead. He can afford to do something like that. He can totally afford to do something like that. And remember what I said about the economy? The Viper got so much idle time in all these villagers, and he managed to kill a good enough number of them that he's almost even on villager count despite having half the town centers. And this is devastating for Vinchester. He's going to try and put this castle here to, of course, protect this gold mine, protect this stone mine. They're both forward. He has to protect them. And this also somewhat protects this gold mine as well. This is a great position for a castle. It's also on a hill. Too bad the Viper was in the right neighborhood at the right time. And he's going to deny this, kill a couple of villagers, force some more idle time. And yet again, villager discrepancy. Evening out. Hello, Alpha. Welcome to the stream. Castle denied. Army's down. Vinchester also needs a castle because he's super duper behind militarily, right? So he needs to have a castle there, like defensive mangonels. He needs something. Is that cavalry archer? Vinchester, don't play with me like this. I can only get so erect. What is this cavalry archer? I think that was a misclick. I think Vinchester bumped the C key on his keyboard because it looks like he's teching into elite skirmishers here, and he's just making skirmishers. So, very disappointed in Vinchester, guys. Shame on him. Shame on him for getting me excited like that with that cavalry archer. He's not actually making Saracen cavalry archers. Damn it. Well, next game, guys. Next game, hopefully we see the Saracen cavalry archers. They have an attack bonus versus buildings in all the balance patches of Aoe2, guys. That's OP. They're like battering rams on horses. How is that even balanced? Unfortunately, no one is going to be making those Saracen cavalry archers today. The Viper is going to go for a split. Vinchester is going to predict that, of course, go for the attack ground and hit them right there. Wow, the Viper not actually able to micro this quite perfectly, and he's going to lose a couple of crossbows for free. And he's getting flanked from behind from those elite skirmishers. The skirmishers are going to do so much damage to this army, and the Viper must pull back. Thank you, Crazy88s. It is my dream job, actually, to do, like, official esports commentary on games. I would love to do that. I love talking about video games, man. That's all I do. I love that. And, of course, skirmishers, countered crossbowmen, guys. Great choice here from Vinchester. He knows what's up. When you are getting towards the later stages of the game, you start to have enough cash to be able to go for unit counters, obviously, and then that's when trading efficiently starts to really matter. Your resources are finite as you start running out of gold, and the skirmisher is going to trade so favorably with those crossmen. The Viper does have +2 defense, but Vinchester does not, so Vinchester will, of course, still actually be advantaged here. Oh, and of course, if you would like, feel free to head on over to the ResQuote subreddit and post your favorite quotes and vote on your other favorite quotes there, as it's one of my favorite things to browse during the day. Back on the game itself, the Viper up to the Imperial Age. Of course, he is going to be the first dude there. Well, actually, no, he's not the first dude there. Sorry, Vinchester actually got to the Imperial Age first, and What this means, that actually doesn't really matter at all in this case. Like, the thing here is that we're sort of like a stalemate type situation. This happens all the time in Age of Empires 2. It can be very hard to close out a game before you get to the Imperial Age, because, like, it's just so hard to push through all those buildings. The buildings in Age of Empires 2 are so tanky, and as a result, you need something like trebuchets. You need something with huge range to be able to pressure from a safe distance where it's very hard to deal with the trebuchets, and that's why they're going to be the stall breaker here that's going to end this game. Now that both players are up to the Imperial Age with the Arbalest upgrade, we're running out of time. These guys are going to duke it out. Thank you, Alpha. I really, really appreciate that. What's special about this tournament, Deselex, is that they're using a custom balance patch. This is a whole new meta we've never seen before. Balance of Power by Carlos Ferdinand and John Mendl. And thank you to Voobly for hosting the tournament, and AOC Zone for compiling all the replays, and everybody for, you know, organizing it and whatnot. It's been absolutely awesome to go see this. This is like a fresh start for Age of Empires 2. It's an experiment to see how the top players in the world will react to a whole new sweeping set of balance changes. Basically, the skill cap has just gone up here, as there are so many more decisions that these pro players have to make now that there are so many more viable strategies, civilizations, and units. What civ will they pick? What units will they make? How will they play the game? And this is even more important because the civilizations are set to hidden, so you can't counter your opponent's civilization. You don't know what your opponent's civ is until you get into the game itself. Both players going blind in here. The Viper with a decisive hill advantage, but Vinchester is just going to take the fight anyway and lose half his army. He doesn't care at all. He's like, I have skirmishers. I don't care about your hill advantage. But you got to remember, man, you're playing against the Britons. They've got this insane range. They can fire at you from, like, across the entire map. Obviously not literally. And the hill advantage here is going to be devastating, as Vinchester does have to pull back. I wonder if we're going to see any, like, mangonels or onagers from him. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good idea. He's going to need something, because, again, he's, like, behind from military standpoint. If he goes swap back to the population, he's got about half the army size. He needs a great equalizer, some area of effect damage. He's going to need onagers. Thank you, Jeanette. I really, really appreciate that. Seriously. You guys are super nice. I love that I love that you and Taff have hung out here before. I saw Masmora the other day. It was absolutely awesome. Mamluks coming out. Mamluks, of course, did get buffed in the balance patch, and this is going to be awesome. Normally we don't see Mamluks because they're, like, super expensive. I think they cost the most gold out of any, like, non-siege weapon in the game. I think they're the most gold cost. It's like 85 or something ridiculous. They do have better stats, so they definitely have a use here, although I think he just built that to deal with the Rams and not seriously. Again, Vinchester playing with our emotions. He's not going for mass Mamluks, no mass cavalry archers, and he's going to lose this castle as a result. If he went for cavalry archers, it would have never happened. Kidding, of course. This engagement's going to be so good for Vinchester. Vinchester here with the patrol. The Viper here not patrolling. He's just going to walk his entire army into Vinchester, the wrong neighborhood. Getting bodied. The Viper going to lose that entire army on that side. However, in the meantime, Vinchester going to lose his entire base. He's making a couple mangonels, of course, which will be able to be a great answer to those capped rams. Will be able to poke him from a distance, but he does not have the military for this. He's sort of evened out a little bit with that disastrous engagement over here, and Vinchester making counter units. Again, he's going for skirms rather than arbalists, so in this case, he's able to go trade efficiently in this case. Oh, this is so close! Vinchester is in deep, deep trouble. He's actually behind in villagers. Can you believe he's behind in 50 villagers, despite having double the town centers of the Viper for so long? And that's because the Viper just applied so much pressure. He was able to go turn it around, and there were just a couple, like, awkward situations, like this castle being here at the wrong time. Both players here playing fantastically, but the Viper is going to pull ahead slightly here because he's just the player that's applying the most pressure in this case. Still, though, Vinchester with the value game here. He's being conservative with his gold. He is going to be able to go into the skirmishers, and it saves him a lot of gold. I mean, I say that, but the Viper still has a definitive gold lead despite spending it all, like, heavily on these capped rams, heavily on these arbalists. The skirmishers aren't as good of an answer as they normally are here because they do get so heavily outranged by the British civilization bonus that gives them extra range. I will be uploading these games, yes, Sir Lawrence, yeah. Wow, this is intense, but I think Vinchester is really, like, in deep trouble. This capped ram not really going to do anything here. He's going to use the capped ram to counter the rams from the Viper, as rams actually do have an attack bonus versus all of the siege weapons. The more you know, guys. Learning, man. Knowledge is power. He's got the siege ram upgrade. This is actually brilliant from Vinchester. This might be one of the funniest, smartest tech decisions I've seen in AoE2. Bizarre, but I love it. You have to think outside of the box, man, in situations like these, and Vinchester's like, well, shit, how do I kill these battering rams with anything? Because my skirmishers don't do any damage to them. I mean, look at the armor. 190 on the captor ram is ridiculous, right? He needs something. He can't go for mangonels because the mangonels are too short range against the Britons. Like 5+5 range Arbalest is ridiculous. The Arbalest just snipe him off first. So what do? Well, battering rams don't take any damage at all from those ranged attacks from the Britons. So you can just use your siege rams to go counter the enemy rams. That's actually ridiculous. That is seriously ridiculous. I love it. Oh yeah, I will not spoil the results of any of these matches. Don't worry, guys. And I'm not going to do any viewer games after this today. I do those on Fridays, man. I'm just going to cast a couple of these replays and then go eat some delicious, delicious dinner. In the meantime, Vinchester moving out is always a great thing to do when you're behind, is send a small force, and I mean small because you don't want to divert your entire army and then literally lose the game, is take a small force of your guys, move them into your opponent's economy, and just force some idle time. It's a great equalizer rating. It's a great equalizer when you're behind, and God, Vinchester's down but not out. He's with the counter of the century here. Some hot rams on rams action. He's trying to, can he get the thrust off? He does not. And here we go, huge damage, 62 HP, down. Oh, the siege ram is gonna get killed by the captor ram. I don't think I've ever seen players use rams versus rams and not versus buildings, but look at that damage. I mean, the Britons don't actually get siege rams, like they only get captor rams, so since the Saracens actually get siege rams, this definitely favors Vinchester. And if Vinchester didn't think outside the box like this, he would have been long since dead with no answer to those captor rams. This is one of the many ways to deal with the Britons. You need to mix up your army comp. Rams are a great way to go deal with their siege. I would say that, you know, having something like cavalry to go charge at their backline of archers while threatening with onager shots is also pretty good. Punish them for focus firing down those individual siege weapons. Wow, this game is not over yet, as the Viper... Never mind, Murphy's Law, guys, I jinxed it. I immediately, when I say this game isn't over yet, it's literally over, as Vinchester does indeed resign. He resigned because the Viper was going, of course, on this side over here. Map control just definitively in his favor. He's also rich. The Viper is Bill Gates. This is insane. I don't think I've seen him have this much money, like, out of all of these resources in a long time. The Viper here thinking of opening up his own stock exchange, as he has so much money, an infinite supply of money, and you go to Vinchester's perspective, and, well, he's got a lot of food, but he doesn't have that much else. He's been conservative with his gold, but that doesn't matter. He's still too poor. Can't quite handle it. The Viper, of course, transitioning into skirms here, because why not? Still a counter unit, doesn't have chemistry, that's fine. Really, like, the reason that Vinchester resigned is that the Viper is pushing on this side of the map. Vinchester really needed these gold mines. He had, like, no gold anymore. He wasn't able to secure this one, right? That's why the Viper was continuously pressuring this specific area, so that he could deny Vinchester the ability to mine gold, force him continually into skirmishers, and then, you know, when Vinchester runs into gold, he can't make siege rams, can't deal with those siege weapons of the Viper, and then he basically just loses. That's why the Viper, he's just pressuring every part of the map that has gold on it, basically. We'll see the black wins. He's pressuring every single part of the map that has gold in it, and Vinchester realizes that, unfortunately, the game is beyond his control. This castle here will protect this, yeah. All the minerals just in favor of the Viper. He's got definitive map control here, and while Vinchester could stall for a little bit with a little bit of that break the meta thinking, yeah, he would probably lose this inevitably, as he's on a timer, he's going to run out of cash, and the Viper has enough money that he could probably go fund another War is Coming tournament out of his own pocket. Alright, guys, well, that was an awesome game. Let's go check out the achievements. Oh yeah, bring me those achievements. Wait, actually, I should click quick current game. Oh yeah, there's my standard Age of Empires 2 retro victory theme. Love this music, guys. Super satisfying. You know, yeah, even though Vinchester was the king of value of this game, you would think, you know, he's building the counter units, right? He had more mangonels, he had more skirmishers, he ended up losing more units overall. And part of that, obviously, is villagers lost, but you know, when you lose the skirmishers, like, their units lost don't matter as much because they don't cost as much money. You don't really lose as much gold there, of course, so it's totally fine. You know, in terms of resources gathered, Vinchester had to go for more on food because he was making skirms, obviously. It makes sense, right? And yeah, I mean, look at the difference in resources gathered. That was only going to get bigger and bigger as time went on. Look at that stone gathered, guys. Oh, I'm streaming today, Clement, because I love you guys, and I really, really appreciate all the overwhelming positive feedback. that I've been getting on like the Break the Meta series and everything, and on Twitch in general. You guys have been like super duper awesome. I have so many likes and comments on those. The view count's really high, so I figured why not do an extra Age of Empires stream for you guys. Also because I really want to check out the Balance of Power tournament. I really, really do. And this is also my way of just, you know, showing my support and just hanging around all sides of the community. That way I could do a little bit of something for HD, a little bit of something for AOC, and just do my part to grow and support the community wherever possible. And this is a pretty cool game. We already saw some things that we wouldn't really normally see in standard Aoe2. A couple of men-at-arms from TheViper. That was really, really awesome. You know, you can see that skirmishers get a little bit more value there because the crossman upgrade is a little bit slower. The timing attack didn't quite work as well. We saw one cavalry archer and we saw one Mameluke. Wasn't quite enough. And really, like, this was a lot more aggressive than normal just due to the changes to walling. And, you know, Saracens obviously one of the big benefactors of this balance patch. I mean, the Britons are looking pretty good too with their longbowmen training faster, getting heavy scorpions, treadmill crane, and the cannon and elite cannon galleons. And now, of course, the game after this one, we're going to be checking out a water map. It's going to be Loch Ness, which is basically Baltic. So now we get to see the other side of Carlos Ferdinand and John Mendl's balance patch. This is, of course, from the round of 16 of the Balance of Power tournament hosted on Voobly. I'll have everything you guys need in the video description below. Thank you so much for the continued support and everything. It's been awesome. And I just realized that I had the background music playing while we got to hear the standard victory theme, so I won't do that next time, man. Just the music wasn't playing in the background because broken. Alright guys, we're going to be right back, take a brief break, and move on to the next game. We're going to be checking out Game 3, Juan versus Spaden. I won't have any spoilers, and hopefully you guys don't spoil anything in the chat either. Hopefully someone can post the changelog for the Balance of Power patch, Squiddy. Hopefully someone can post that in the chat. If not, I can go post it in the chat, and I'll be right back. Thank you, Shadow Cobra, really appreciate it, and I'll see you all shortly. GG, well played. Yeah, they're trying out the patch, and we want to see the effects of it, and see if it's just, you know, does a really good job, Clement. I'll see you all shortly, guys. Be right back.